language, a form of communication which begins with vocalizations, grunts, sounds, referring to objects, and then progresses, evolves into abstract thinking, written language, symbols, which refer back to the mind, to the noumenon, to the thought. A word is in fact a symbol of a mental abstraction. Language is used as a communication vehicle. It communicates complicated concept, but it begins by communicating emotions, sensations. The control of language, the restriction of definitions, the visceral reactions to certain concepts is a way of controlling the mind. You control language, you control the masses. We can see this in today's political correctness, where you can't say certain words, you can't mention certain concepts without producing in the other a automatic response, a dismissal, a reluctance to consider anything relating to that concept. We can see this in the diminishment of usage of language, the simplification of language, where certain words are deemed pretentious, where intellectuality is becoming a negative term, referring to being pompous, elitist. We see this in the today world because mediocrity is the desirable. Everything has to be leveled down, so nobody feels inadequate, nobody feels inferior, nobody is hurt in any way. We see this in public forums where just one person being offended by an idea could eliminate the idea or the expression of the idea, as if by eliminating it from public awareness, he can eliminate the idea itself. This is the level of simplicity we are dealing with here. We see this in the usage of language in general, how the same words are repeated, how the same concepts are repeated, how certain words like right and left have taken on a simplistic form. For instance, in the United States, right and left, conservatism and liberalism pretty much cover the whole gamut of political discourse. And although they pretend to be different, they share in the same principles, in fact. And their only disagreement is on the level of government, on how much intervention the government will be, how much the governmental intervention will be accepted and tolerated, and where and how. The liberals want total or more governmental control, and this is natural for the weak, because they always run to authority, to be protected, to be sheltered from themselves, pretty much. And the more rich, they want less, but not total anarchy either. They want law in order to protect their property. They want morality to protect their property from thieves. They want their wives to be protected by morality, making rape a negative and illegal. But they want deregulation in economics, where they hold the upper hand and they can yield it more easily that way. So in fact, by controlling language, the definition of words, the connotations, the restriction on certain concepts, by producing a automatic reaction in the population in regards to certain concepts, certain words, you create mass control, you create brainwashing, you create sheeple who can now be directed and governed and manipulated with ease. We can see how the simple word like philosophy has acquired a negative connotation, whereas the word itself is simply a word referring back to the Greeks. It's a compound word. It's made up of two concepts: philo, sophia, friend of wisdom. That's all it means. Whoever is a friend of wisdom is a philosopher. But of course today it's associated with academics and pompousness and arrogance and highbrowedness. So people have a negative reaction to intellectualism. In fact, thinking is nerdy. It's not cool. You're not supposed to think beyond a certain limit. You're not supposed to think outside a certain line. You have to maintain an etiquette, even in regards to language. That is, nobody should be hurt. Nobody should be made to feel inferior, lesser than. Mediocrity should be the goal. If a single person is hurt, then this word, this attitude, this usage of language should be prohibited, restricted. We see this in real time on public forums, such as YouTube, where if one single person is offended by a comment, a word, an idea, then the idea is taken off from public consumption. It's not even allowed airing, as if by eliminating from consciousness, it goes away magically. The concept just disappears. And in fact, that's a perfect way to eliminate an idea, by either eradicating the word, associating with the word with a something shameful, by maintaining the population on a level where certain words cannot be used by it, or not even known by it. So certain concepts cannot be expressed beyond a certain limit. Everything is maintained on a very simplistic level. Nothing beyond a certain level is permitted, because there's no words available to use to describe them. By eliminating a word or by redefining it, you pretty much warp conception, you shape consciousness, and you create automatons. You can see the power of language here. Now, evolutionary biologists claim that language evolves as a form of grooming. That is, it's a sophistication of the social practice of grooming, where alliances are built and relationships are established. It has the power, though, to affect more than one person, whereas in ape grooming, it's a one-on-one affair. With language, one person can groom, if you will, millions, and pass upon them a relationship, an ideal. In the practice of political correctness in modern times, we see this drive to control the mind, the masses, which they submit to willingly, because most of them are afraid of reality, given that they live a pretty comfortable life sheltered from it, and they would not exist without the sheltering. So they grasp upon it. They want to protect this wall between them and a reality that they feel insecure towards. So they are the first to advocate a control over language, the prohibition of certain terms, certain words, the idea that if one person gets hurt, then the idea is in error, as if reality is decided democratically and popularity is what establishes the truth. If that were so, then the world would be flat, because at some point in the past, most of the people in the world thought it was flat. And today we also believe in certain absurdities which we consider self-evident, but we're not allowed, we're not permitted to think outside the box. We're not permitted to use certain terms, certain words. We have a visceral reaction to these terms. We're trained from birth to consider them evil, to be a little embarrassed by them, to be a little apprehensive about using words in a certain way.